Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we will be taking a look at my Master League Premier Cup team. Master League and its Premier Cup are just around the corner, so I did want to bring this video to you guys and show this team. Honestly, this is the team that I'm most proud of out of any league, and it's the team I've done the best with by far out of any league. So I really wanted to break it down, showcase why it works, and honestly break down individual matchups to really show the effectiveness of this team. To start with, what team am I using? Well, you know the Pokemon from the thumbnail. My lead is Dragonite. I have a 15-15-15 perfect IV Dragonite. I run a fast move of Dragon Breath, and then two charge moves, one as Dragon Claw, one as Hurricane. For my safe swap, what I use to switch into oftentimes when I have a bad lead, I run Gyarados. I have a perfect IV Gyarados. It is 15-15-15, and the moveset that I use on the Gyarados is a fast move of Waterfall, and then a charge move of Crunch, at least I did in Season 2. For Season 3, that will be updated to Aqua Tail, and Outrage as the second charge move. And then finally, I have Metagross as my closer, and my Metagross is a 15-13-15, so a 96 IV. Fast move is Bullet Punch, and then the charge moves are Meteor Mash and Earthquake. Breaking down a team and demonstrating its effectiveness is by no means an easy task. For the sake of this video, I'm going to attempt to demonstrate the effectiveness of this team by breaking it down into examining individual lead matchups and individual potential switch-in matchups for some of the most popular Pokemon in the Premier Cup for Master League. I know this is going to be a longer video, so for ease of use, in the description of this video I will be including timestamps for individual lead matchups and switch-in, so if there's one in particular you're looking for, you will be able to find it easily. Alright, so first situation we are going to be taking a look at is a Dragonite Lead. So I'm going to be showcasing a couple battles that have a Dragonite Lead. In this situation, you are going to want to go straight Dragon Claw. And in this situation in which you do win CMP, which I do here, you're going to want to match shield. So since they shielded, I shield as well. And then I'm going to be going for the second Dragon Claw. If my attack stat is higher, I'm going to win CMP the second time as well. However, if it's the same, like in this situation, I actually lose CMP the second time. In that situation, I decided to let it go. I don't want to be down a shield, and I can just come in with Metagross and farm up some extra energy. My opponent brings in Garchomp, which isn't a good matchup for me, but since I have an energy advantage, I can get to the Meteor Mash, and this will be pressuring the health on the Garchomp. That does quite a bit. I quickly swap into my Gyarados. He counters with Metagross. This is a great situation for me, and he decides to leave the match. And we're hopping into the next game, taking a look at how to handle a Dragonite Lead. In this situation, I do notice I am a higher CP than them, so hopefully that should translate to a CMP win since I am a perfect IV Dragonite. I do go for the Dragon Claw. They do decide to shield, and then they decide to throw, so I'm going to shield accordingly. After the Dragon Claw hits, they switch into a Metagross, so I counter with my Gyarados. This is why Waterfall is so important, because I am able to get so much damage off the Waterfalls. Crunch coming through, he has to shield, or this is basically going to take him out. He does decide to shield, building up quite a lot of energy. My guess is he's at 2 Meteor Mashes. I'm going to let the first one go, just because I can take it. And then I do decide to shield the second one, just because the second one would be enough to take me out. At this point, now I can just build up some energy. I'm going to overfarm by 1 Waterfall, and then throw the Crunch, and this will be KOing the Metagross. So I do win that secondary matchup. I'm expecting Dragonite to come back in and farm me down, since I am a Waterfall Gyarados. The Dragonite does come back in, and I can't quite get to the move. And here you need to come in with Metagross. If you switch in your Dragonite, you would be at an energy disadvantage, which is not a situation you want to be in a mirror match. Whereas with Metagross, you can pretty safely farm down, and they switch in a Magnezone. We have a ton of energy, and we're going to be able to land an Earthquake on an unshielded Magnezone. This is going to KO, and our opponent is going to decide to leave the match. So good game to our opponent. And we're hopping into game number 3, taking a look at a Dragonite Lead, and in this game my opponent does play this matchup differently than I was expecting, so I show you how to handle it. I of course go for my Dragon Claw as per usual, and I'm expecting them to shield. They do shield, so when they throw, I'm going to shield. However, they choose not to throw, and in the Dragonite matchup, if you go straight farm and your opponent throws, then you're down a shield, but you can actually take the matchup. I decided to bring in Gyarados, and here
I do shield because they're going for the nuke, the Hurricane, and I am able to farm down and get a little bit of energy on Gyarados. They counter with a Snorlax. This is a fairly even matchup, and I do go for the Outrage. This is going to be doing more damage per energy than Crunch if it connects, and it does connect, which is huge. I immediately swap into Metagross to get ahead on energy. They throw. I'm not too worried about a charge move from Snorlax, so I decided to let this go. It's a superpower, and they switch out into their own Metagross, so this is great. We are ahead on energy, and we're going straight Earthquake, and since we are ahead on energy, we should be able to go straight Earthquake and take them out. They do shield, and they get to the charge move, and we're going to shield it up, even though it's probably a Meteor Mash bait, which it is, and we're going to be able to get to the Earthquake, and this is going to be KOing the opponent's Metagross. And then we're in a really favorable position on the back end with the Snorlax, and we do switch into our Gyarados to catch the charge move from the Snorlax. It's just a body slam, and then we are able to... Oh, thought we were going to be able to waterfall down, not quite. Another charge move coming through, and then we are going to be able to bullet punch down for the win. And we're hopping into game number 4, taking a look at Dragonite Leads. And in this matchup, I'm going to demonstrate how the farm down technique used by my opponent in the previous match can actually be quite effective. So I decide to shield here, and I'm going to not throw. I'm just going to Dragon Breath my opponent all the way down, and I am able to Dragon Breath them down, and I'm going to throw my move. I'm going to throw the Hurricane at the Metagross that comes in. Here my opponent makes a mistake by not shielding, because that Hurricane connects and does quite a bit of damage. Even though they are able to farm me down, I have my Waterfall Gyarados to help clean up this Metagross. He throws his Meteor Mash. I can let this go. I do resist Meteor Mash, and I'll be able to farm all the way down with Waterfall, and I'll have a ton of energy for whatever's in back. And it turns out to be a Snorlax, so I'm going to build up to 2 crunches, and I'm going for back-to-back crunches, and I am going to try and get the shield. Throw the first one, I do get the shield, which is great, and I throw the second one. Unfortunately, he is able to sneak a lick in there, so wasn't able to piggyback correctly. I switch into my Metagross, and here I'm just going to try and build up some energy. Charge move coming through. I decide to shield, hoping it's the Earthquake. It's a body slam. I was baited. That is not good. Building up extra energy. I decide to throw the Meteor Mash, so that way if he does have an Earthquake, I'll at least get the shield before I'm taken out. Charge move coming through. Moment of truth. If it's an Earthquake, my Metagross is dead. It is a Skull Bash, the absolute spice, and so I am able to survive, and a Meteor Mash is going to be KOing the Snorlax.
Next situation we will be taking a look at is a Magnezone lead. Magnezone is a very common lead in the Master League Premier Cup, and even though according to PvPoke, Dragonite does lose in the 0 and 1 shield, honestly, I find the Dragonite, as it comes to actual gameplay, does handle the situation very well. I like to play this by building up to 2 Dragon Claws, and we get there right around the time they build up to 2 Wild Charges. I let the first one through because I can survive it, and I am going to be countering with a Dragon Claw. And we do get the shield, and they switch out into their own Dragonite, so they are able to catch my Dragon Claw. Great play by them, and I'm going to swap into my Metagross. Metagross does have a really positive matchup against Dragonite, and so I should be able to just absorb this energy and actually maybe even bullet punch the whole way down. That way I'll leave this matchup with a ton of energy, and we are able to bullet punch down, so things are looking great. Snorlax does come in, and we are able to throw the first of our Meteor Mashes. Then we're able to get to the second one, and this should be pressuring that last shield, hopefully. Yep, we do get the last shield, and we're going to let that feint us down, and we're going to come in with the Gyarados. The reason why we come in with the Gyarados here is we do not want our Gyarados paired up against the Magnezone here, which does come in. Magnezone is throwing energy, and we are going to be shielding that up. That's why it's good to have 2 shields. We're going to try and farm down. They do get to another Wild Charge, but we're able to shield this one up, and we'll be able to farm down, and then we'll have energy for the Snorlax in back, and we are able to get to the Outrage, which is going to be the higher damage move, and with a Waterfall or 2, that takes it out. And we're hopping into game number 2, taking a look at a Magnezone lead. This one is against Gilbert. And in this situation, our opponent does play it slightly differently. They do still build up to the 2 Wild Charges, but they actually decide to throw both of them. So we build up to our 2 Dragon Claws. We do get to our Dragon Claw here first. And this Dragon Claw is not shielded. because they reckon that once their defense goes down, then it'll be doing more. We don't shield either, so we basically just kind of want to match shields in this matchup. We throw our Dragon Claw, this will be getting a shield, and then they're going to be throwing a move of their own. So we are going to be shielding here, even though they do bait with Mirror Shot. And they switch out into Metagross, so we can swap into our Waterfall Gyarados. This is a really positive matchup for us. We can no-shield this since we do resist the Meteor Mash, and then we're going to be able to farm up quite a bit of energy here, and then we throw the Crunch right before they get to their Meteor Mash. And this should be taking out the Metagross, which it does. And they're going to bring back in the Dragonite to farm us down, but since we farmed up some extra energy, we are able to get to the Crunch. And even though it's not super effective or anything, it still does some nice chunk damage on that Dragonite, which is great. We are going to bring in our Metagross. This is crucial because you don't want to bring in a Dragonite into a mirror match where you have an energy disadvantage or you're going to lose, whereas Metagross can soak up a lot of damage and still be okay. And we're waiting for the switch. They do switch, and we are able to counter their switch, and we're going to be throwing the Dragon Claw here. And that is going to be taking out the Magnezone. They're going to farm us down with their own Dragonite, and we are going to just work on bullet punching down here. So we do shield up the Dragon Claw, and oh, actually we throw a move. I stand corrected. We do throw the Meteor Mash. They shield it. They throw another move, Dragon Claw, and we're able to take them out. And in this next clip, we're going to be showcasing what happens when our strategy to defeat Magnezone goes awry. So as always, I am going to be building up to 2 Dragon Claws, but here they actually play the matchup, in my opinion, correctly. They throw 1 Wild Charge, and then they're just going to leave. So they throw the 1 Wild Charge, they counter swap into Togekiss, and then we're able to swap into our Metagross. This is a really positive matchup for us, and we should be able to just shield the Flamethrower and farm down, and then we should have close to 100 energy for whatever comes in next. So we are able to bullet punch down, and we are loaded on energy. We are going for the Meteor Mash here. And that Meteor Mash, they do shield it. We build up to an Earthquake, and we are going to bait again, because the Magnezone typically can't afford to call the bait. Yep, they shield again, which is perfect. And they throw right before we get to our charge move. We're good with letting this go. It's only a Mirror Shot. Oh my goodness. So now we are actually going to shield this one up since we're still alive. And then we should be able to land this Earthquake. But unfortunately, they did switch out. So they did a really nice job of catching the Earthquake onto the Machamp. We come in with our Gyarados. We are able to waterfall down the Machamp. And then the Magnezone comes in, and we are able to get to the Crunch on the Magnezone. So this should be applying some neutral damage, and that takes it out. And we're hopping into the last clip, taking a look at how to handle a Magnezone lead. By now, you do know the strategy is to build up to the 2 Dragon Claws, and in the meantime, that Dragon Breath is doing quite a bit of damage on the Magnezone despite being resisted. We get to our Dragon Claws, but he does get to his first Wild Charge first, unfortunately. We decide to let that go since we can't survive it. We throw the Dragon Claws. Since his defense is lowered, he should be shielding this. So we do get the shield, another charge move coming through. Now we're going to match his shield accordingly. He does bait us with Mirror Shot. We throw our Dragon Claw, but unfortunately this is when you could switch on a CMP tie. So he switched into Rhyperior, so we're going to counter swap into Gyarados. Since our Waterfall is double super effective, that was a little fast, so I decided to let this go, and it is a Surf. So that was a good call by us, and we are able to farm down. I don't have a lot of health, so I blind throw the Crunch. I wish I would have had a moment longer to get to the Outrage, but I probably would have been farmed down in that time. And here, if you notice, he came in with the Dragonite. So in that moment, when I was waiting to select my Pokemon, I had an advantage over him. He had shown me all 3 of his Pokemon, and I had only shown him 2. And so with that advanced knowledge, I was able to determine that I do want my Metagross lined up with his Dragonite, and then at the back, my Dragonite lined up with his Magnezone. So I was able to line those matchups up accordingly to help make sure that I was able to win here. And he's going to be throwing a charge move. I am going to be using that last shield because I am trying to get to the Dragon Claw. I am able to get to the Dragon Claw here. Unfortunately, since it's resisted, it won't quite finish him off. And he is able to get to a charge move here, and this is going to be taking me out, but I will be able to bullet punch down with the Metagross. And the next situation that we are going to be taking a look at is handling a Togekiss lead. Togekiss is a super strong counter to Dragonite, and kind of how I handle these situations. In these situations, I safe swap into Gyarados. Those waterfalls are doing some nice neutral damage, and my goal is to throw the crunch as they hit their 8th charm, because that's when they can hit an ancient power. My goal is to trigger a CMP tie like I do here. So he shields up my crunch, and then I let the ancient power go. So here I have successfully taken one of his shields, and I should be able to come in with Metagross and clean up the Togekiss. And if you notice, I wait all 10 seconds to try and wait out the switch timer. The Machamp comes in, I throw my Meteor Mash, and at this point my switch timer should be up, so I should be able to switch into Dragonite, and now he has unwittingly ceded switch to me. And Dragonite does have a good matchup against Machamp, and I will be able to build up a little extra. Unfortunately, he does get to the charge move right as I was about to throw, so I do shield up the Rock Slide, and then I am going to be working on farming him down, and we are able to farm him down, which is huge. And here I'm going to be throwing the Hurricane in case the Togekiss comes back, but it is the Metagross. And so I am going to be building up quite a bit here. He switches into the Togekiss. Hey, I mean, that way I can Hurricane him. That works. And now he brings back in the Metagross, and I'm going to switch into my own Metagross, mainly just to make him throw his energy. Which he does. He Earthquakes me, and then I'm able to get to my Dragon Claw, and that is going to be enough to take out the Metagross. Good game. And we're hopping into game number 2, taking a look at how I handle Togekiss leads. And in this particular game, I'm going to be showcasing what to do if you're unable to force that CMP tie. So here we safe swap Gyarados, of course, we're counting the charms, and as they get to their 8th, we do throw the crunch. We're hoping for 2 things. We're hoping for them to shield and for them to throw. They do shield, we get 1 of 2, but they farm down. So good job by my opponent for not throwing the charge move there. And we're going to be waiting the full 10 seconds before we come in with Metagross to help our switch timer come up sooner. Charge move comes through from the Togekiss. We are going to be shielding that up just in case it is a flamethrower, and we're able to bullet punch down. And a Garchomp comes in. This is not a good matchup for us, but we do have an energy advantage which should help out. Charge move coming through from the Garchomp. I shield it, and I correctly shield the Earthquake. That is huge in this matchup. With Garchomp, it's all about shielding the nuke or the high damage move, and then trying to avoid shielding when they throw the bait move. I throw the back-to-back Meteor Mashes, and we are able to bullet punch down, and he resigns the game. And we're hopping into our final game, taking a look at a Togekiss lead. By now you know the strategy. I'm swapping into Gyarados here, and they swap into an Escavalier, which is a bold choice because Escavalier has a losing matchup against Gyarados, and they no-shield that, so I'm not sure what's going on here. I decided to let this go because no charge moves can really kill me, and it's an Acid Spray, so great no-shield, and we're able to take Switch, and our defenses are lowered, but honestly, we have Switch, so we have a pretty nice command of this game at the moment. They do shield, and their bullet punches are doing quite a bit of work since our defenses are lowered. And we decide to let this Meteor Mash go, and we are going to come in with our Dragonite. He counters with Togekiss, and then we counter with our own Metagross. Even though Dragonite doesn't have a great matchup against Metagross, the reason why I came in with Dragonite there was to keep the Togekiss lined up with my Metagross, and from here it should be a pretty straightforward matchup of me taking him out. And I will be able to farm him down here. And he comes in with the Metagross, and we're going to be able to Earthquake him for the win. And good game. Next lead we'll be taking a look at is a Snorlax lead. In general, this is a fairly good lead for Dragonite. We do have a positive matchup. The one thing that does make it a little more complicated is Snorlax can have access to the move Outrage, which being a dragon move would do super effective damage. So in this matchup, it's pretty straightforward, but you just gotta watch out and correctly call the baits and shield the Outrage if they haven't. Here they do build up to what's close to an Outrage. I decide to let it go. We'll see what it is. It's a Body Slam, so we did call the bait successfully. We get our Dragon Claw off, and this is gonna be getting him pretty low unless he shields, which he does. Alright, and building up energy here. Charge move coming through. I'm willing to let it go and take my shield advantage, so I don't shield. Turns out he baited, so that was a great call, and we're able to get to the Dragon Claw, and this will be taking him out unless he wants to burn his second shield, and it does take him out. So now we have switch advantage and shield advantage. Things are looking great. We're able to line up our Metagross with the Dragonite, which is a fantastic matchup for Metagross. This Meteor Mash is going to be doing a ton of damage unless they decide to shield, so we do get the second shield, so things are looking great for us. Move coming in from the Dragonite. I do decide to shield it up. I mean, we have two. We may as well use one. Meteor Mash coming through, and this should be coming very close to taking out that Dragonite, and it does. Perfect. And what's in back? A Togekiss. So this is going to be a good game from here. We do get to the Meteor Mash. We actually built up a little extra there. Not sure why we did that. Maybe flexing a little bit, but that is going to be taking out the Togekiss. Good game. We're hopping into the second game, taking a look at a Snorlax lead. And in this game, I'm going to be showcasing the zero shield scenario and how the Dragonite does still come out on top and with energy. So as always, we're just going straight for the Dragon Claw. It's going to be doing neutral damage, but it does chip away. They're building up a bit to bluff the Outrage, which they do a pretty good job of, but I never shield because they'll often bait. They do go for the Body Slam. I'm going to be going Dragon Claw again, and as I mentioned in this scenario, they choose not to shield. And that works out well for Dragonite because we can tank this Body Slam, and then we'll be able to farm down and have energy for whatever comes in next. So we are able to farm that down, and looks like a Metagross comes in. I do throw the Dragon Claw. I didn't think I was going to be able to get to the Hurricane, so I opted to go for the guaranteed damage rather than risking it all and maybe not getting any. I come in with the Gyarados. He counters with Conkeldurr. I switch into Metagross. This is not a great matchup for Metagross, to be honest, because Conkeldurr is going to be doing some nice neutral damage. That Dynamic Punch hurts quite a bit, but I will be able to do a lot of damage with the Meteor Mash if that goes unshielded. Unfortunately, our opponent does shield it and decides to counter down. So this is going to be a bit of an interesting matchup, but I have a shield advantage, and this is where Waterfall on the Gyarados is going to come in handy. He throws the Dynamic Punch bait, and I'm just going to be able to farm him the whole way down. Unfortunately, he gets to another move. I have to respect the Stone Edge, so I shield. It's another Dynamic Punch. He probably wasn't even running Stone Edge. And then he does a quick swap into Metagross, throws the Meteor Mash, which I can survive. I'm going to be building up a little extra to my 2 crunches, and then I am going to be throwing. That first crunch should be shielded, and then that second one will be taking him out. It's perfect, yep, and that one KOs, and then it'll just be 1 Waterfall, and the Conkeldurr's dead. Next, we're taking a look at Swampert lead. Swampert's a really positive lead. I basically just throw Dragon Claws and win. I included this clip because this is the fastest quit I have ever seen. Look at this. I switch into Waterfall Gyarados, and he said, no thank you. But yeah, Swampert lead, pretty good. Not too much to it, to be honest. Alright, next lead that we'll be taking a look at is a Waterfall Gyarados lead. I would say it's a slightly less common lead than the ones we've covered so far, but a very good lead for Dragonite. They're almost always going to be switching out, so it's a matter of just following their switch in a way that's going to set you up for victory. Switching into Metagross here does 2 things for me. First of which, it means that my Metagross is not going to get matched up with the Waterfall Gyarados later in the game. And secondly, Metagross just has a really good matchup with Dragonite. So long as I just mirror shields, I basically just shield when he shields, then I'll be able to keep switch advantage and keep my Dragonite lined up with his Waterfall Gyarados. Here he throws, and it's just a Dragon Claw. I can survive it. I let it go. And I'm going to try and get to the Meteor Mash. Unfortunately, he does get to the Dragon Claw. This one I will need to shield, or that would take me out. But I will be able to get to the Meteor Mash. He does a really nice swap onto Gyarados to catch the Meteor Mash. So great job by my opponent there. But since he switched, I'm able to switch into my Dragonite, get to the Dragon Claw, and my opponent did a good job by catching the move, but now his Gyarados is basically just food at this point. Let's see what's in the back. It is a Metagross, so this is where things get a little more worrying, but he doesn't have a shield, so I'll be able to successfully get to the Hurricane, and this will be doing quite a bit of damage. And we have our Waterfall Gyarados in back to handle the Metagross. Charge move coming through, this will be taking out the Dragonite, but never fear, Gyarados is here to do mob-up duty. And he does a switch into Dragonite to try and catch a charge move. We weren't at one, so we just farm him down, and our opponent concedes. Next lead we will be taking a look at is a Machamp Lead. This is another really good lead for us, and we win all even shield scenarios. Here I'll be showcasing the zero shield. So we go for the Dragon Claw. There ends up not really being a point to go for the Hurricane because honestly look how low it is already. Charge move coming through. Even if it's the Rock Slide, we can survive it. Yep, Rock Slide, we're fine, and then we can just farm down and have energy for whatever comes in next. And it is the Togekiss, so we are going to be getting off one Dragon Claw, and even though it doesn't do much, every little bit of damage helps, so we'll take it. And from here, we'll get to go with Metagross. He counters with Swampert, we counter with Gyarados, so it's pretty rock, paper, scissors from here, to be honest. Like, his team in a different order could have been a problem, but we can handle it in this order. We are going for the Crunch, and this is going to be doing some nice neutral damage onto the Swampert. Oh, actually does get that shield, which is nice. Charge move coming through, and in this matchup you basically just want to match shield. So we're going to be shielding up the Hydro Cannon, and we're going to be going for another Crunch. And this should come close to KOing, if not KOing, if he doesn't shield. Oh, he does shield, and switches into Togekiss, and we counter with our Metagross. And we do have a shield, so we should be able to shield up, and then farm the whole way down, and then we'll be able to throw a charge move onto the Swampert and take it out. Yep. And we'll be able to go for the Earthquake, and this is going to be taking out that Swampert. Bit of overkill, but hey, good game. Next lead we are going to be taking a look at is a Metagross lead. Unfortunately, one of the big weaknesses of this team is a Metagross lead is very difficult to overcome because Metagross is a very favorable matchup against Dragonite. I typically like to safe swap Metagross instead, because my theory is you typically want to swap into what I call your soft counter as opposed to your hard counter, and Gyarados being the hard counter. And here they do swap into a Rhyperior, which is a pretty good matchup because this one is running Smackdown and we are able to take Switch, which was a mistake by our opponent, but hey, we'll take it. This is one of the few that I won against the Metagross lead, so we'll take it. Charge move coming through from the Dragonite. I am going to be shielding this up. I really want to get to 2 Meteor Mashes. I'm going to be throwing there. We do get the Meteor Mash off, and this is going to be very close. Coming down to the wire, they shield, and we are able to get to the last Meteor Mash, which is huge. And this will be getting that final shield, so now we have a shield advantage. We'll be able to come in with our Dragonite. They counter swap Metagross. We swap into our Gyarados. And so the match is pretty straightforward from here, to be honest. We can safely no-shield this. We'll just save our shield for our Dragonite against his Dragonite, and we'll be fine. And this Crunch will come close to killing, but not quite. Yep, gets it very low. Is able to get to the charge move. We're going to let this go. We're okay if it kills us. It's fine. Meteor Mash doesn't quite kill. And then he brings in the Dragonite, and we bring in our own Dragonite, and they exit the match. Next situation we'll be taking a look at is a Smackdown Rhyperior. In this situation, I do like to safe swap into my Gyarados, and I try and get a shield from them. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to lose the secondary matchup, but I want to have shield advantage. They do shield, which is perfect. And now when they throw, I'm going to let this go. I'm perfectly content with not having switch, so long as I can have my shield advantage in this situation. I come back in with Dragonite. I am able to get to the Dragon Claw. I'm hoping this will be enough to take it out. Unfortunately, it is not. Charge move coming through. Again, I let this go because I'm leaving both shields for Metagross. I'm hoping that Metagross can carry me. And he's going to be bringing back in the Rhyperior. I counter swap into Metagross, and a Snorlax comes out. Usually this is a pretty bad matchup for Metagross, but since we have an extra shield, that can help neutralize Snorlax's advantage. And we are able to get the last shield. I do decide to shield up. Just at this point, have 2 shields. Shouldn't let him go to waste. I'm building up a lot of energy because I'm realizing that I'm going to need a lot of energy on Metagross. Again, I am going to be shielding up. It looks like I'm trying to build up to 2 Meteor Mashes. Unfortunately, just as I get there, they throw. I need this to be another Body Slam. It is another Body Slam. That's perfect. And I do throw the Meteor Mash. This will come close to KOing, but not quite. And they actually switch out into the Rhyperior. I don't know what they were doing, but Meteor Mash is super effective and takes them out. And I'm going to counter swap into Dragonite and take them out. Alright, we are coming to the end of the lead situations that we're taking a look at. So this is a special category I'm calling Spice Leads. Pokemon that I'm like, what is this even doing here in Master League Premier? But hey, you encounter them, and Dragonite, with it being a pretty good generalist, does well. So here we see an Empoleon Lead. Someone let the Penguin out of Ultra League, and it is just in Master League now. They switch into their own Dragonite. I'm going to counter swap into my Metagross, because Metagross does have a really nice matchup against Dragonite. Going for the Meteor Mash, and this should probably be getting that first shield. Yep, it will. And in this situation, if you just match shields, then typically you can do pretty well. Granted, this footage, as I mentioned earlier, was in Season 2, so my Metagross was not best buddied yet. As of Season 3, it will be best buddied, which should help put me over the edge in a couple of matchups. Ooh, he does land the Hurricane, so I am needing him to let this go, and he does. So we do keep our switch advantage. We're coming back in with Dragonite. He counter swaps into Togekiss. Here I go for the Hurricane. I'm needing this to land. Please, it does, which is huge, and we're going to be able to come in with our Gyarados and just waterfall down. That was the difference there. Had he shielded that, we would have been in trouble. The Empoleon comes in, we're going for the Crunch. This should be applying some shield pressure. Yep, we do get that last shield, which is fantastic. And the Dragon Breath, even though it's resisted, is doing a nice amount of damage. We do decide to shield, so we decide to try and finish the game with our Gyarados, and we're going to be able to get to the Crunch. And this should be all she wrote here. This Crunch, yep, is going to be taking it out. Good game. Alright, and we're taking a look at our last Spice lead. This time it's a Scissor, another Pokemon that escaped from the Ultra League. They're going to switch into a Togekiss, we switch into Metagross, and from here, they're pretty much helpless. We're building up some extra, and we throw just as they hit their 8th charm, as they would get to an Ancient Power, and they do decide to shield, and they're going for a charge move, so we're going to shield this up as well, because it is the Flamethrower, and now we should pretty comfortably just be able to bullet punch down and have a ton of energy for whatever comes in next. Here, we're going for the Earthquake, and the Earthquake is shielded by the Scissor, unfortunately, and here we decide to let this go, because Metagross already did its job, and that Night Slash is going to be taking us out, and we're coming in with the Dragonite. They counter swap with a Dragonite of their own, but since we do have the shield advantage, then we should be able to win this matchup pretty comfortably. We land the Dragon Claw, and we should be able to shield here, and then farm down, and then we'll have some energy for when the Scissor comes in. Scissor comes back, we are able to get to the Dragon Claw, then I imagine we'll be switching immediately into Gyarados and applying pressure with the Waterfalls. We are perfect. And now the Scissor's throwing a move, but honestly, it's basically over from here. They throw the Night Slash, they don't get the boost, and they're gone. Good game. Alright, so we have made it through the leads, and in this part of the video is going to be how I handle certain switch-ins. This one is going to be a Gyarados switch-in. The back two Pokemon that I have don't have great matchups against Gyarados, so even though you may be inclined to switch out, oftentimes if they switch in a Gyarados, I will stay in with my Dragonite, as I am doing here. He throws the Crunch, I can survive that, and since I have a bit of an energy lead, I will be able to win the Zero Shield or make him use a shield here, which he does, and he is able to farm down. So I'm going to be coming in with my Metagross, and I can bullet punch him down. Even though Swampert onto Metagross is not a great matchup, the good news is I have an energy advantage, as well as I have a shield advantage, and I switch into the Gyarados to catch the charge move here, and so we're expecting him to switch out now, and he's staying in, which can only mean one thing. He has something in the back that is very, very weak to Gyarados. My guess is a Metagross, something that he wouldn't want to switch in at a shield disadvantage to my Metagross, but something that he also wouldn't want to switch in against the Gyarados. So charge move coming through. This will come very close to taking it out. Yep, and one more Waterfall, and show me the Metagross, and there it is. I have not seen these clips in a couple weeks since I took them, but yeah, some team compositions are pretty predictable, so that Crunch does huge damage. We switch in our own Metagross, basically just to get him to throw his energy. He throws his energy, we no-shield it. Turns out he baited. So we're fine with that, and we'll throw the Meteor Mash, and this is going to be taking him out, and so that's going to be a good game. Alright, and the next and final switch-in that we'll be taking a look at is the Snorlax switch-in. Our back line, Gyarados and Metagross, don't have great matchups against Snorlax. They're either losing or pretty neutral matchups. So when they switch in, honestly, I like staying in with Dragonite, because there you can pretty easily take out the Snorlax, or at least, not easily, but you win the matchup at least. And that way, then you can still match up, for instance, if they're starting with a Swampert against your Gyarados and still have good matchups on the back end here. And we're just exchanging Body Slams for Dragon Claws, but with the Dragon Breath damage being very oppressive, we are going to be able to farm down the Snorlax and keep our switch advantage, which is perfect. And now we're close to a charge move for whatever comes in. They're taking their time here, and it is Togekiss, and unfortunately one charm takes us out, but we have just a thing for that in back. We have the Metagross, and he switches into his Swampert. We counter with Gyarados, and from here, it's basically rock, paper, scissors, where we have the counters to what he has in the order we need to have them, even though he has Sludge Wave, which is a very spicy pick for the Master League Premier Cup. We are still going to be just fine, because we should just be able to waterfall down from here. He does decide to throw, and we decide to no-shield it, because at this point we could probably bullet punch down. Well, it turns out to only be a Hydro Cannon. Then there's another Hydro Cannon coming through as well. We decide to shield this one up, and then we do go for the charge move just to try and knock out the Swampert, since it did have quite a bit of energy. We just used, and we counter swap into our Metagross here, and we'll just build up to 2 Meteor Mashes. So we should be able to pretty comfortably shield, and then just do back-to-back Meteor Mashes to take the win. Yep, so first Meteor Mash coming through here. Oh, and they saw the writing on the wall. They just let it go. Good game. Oh. And so there we have it. This is the team that I ran with honestly really, really good success in Master League Premier Cup last season. I was about, I'd say, at my lowest point, 2250 at the end of Ultra League, and it took me up to close to 2700 by the end, so that's close to a 500 point increase. And what I like about this team as well is I feel like it's fairly easy to learn, but does take a while to master. If you just kind of learn the matchups and have a plan, because the meta in the Premier Cup, I would say, is fairly consistent. So if you just have a plan for whatever they lead with, and then you can kind of counter it, then you should see quite a bit of success with this team. And in addition, this team will be getting a buff, at least for me, because my Metagross is now a best buddy, so it should have a bit more HP, and I believe it reaches a breakpoint versus Dragonite, which is nice. And on top of that as well, I did TM my Gyarados. So on Community Day, I did switch out Crunch for Aqua Tail. And Aqua Tail does actually help the Gyarados quite a bit. It makes it so with Waterfall Gyarados can now actually tie Togekiss in the one shield, and it can actually beat Snorlax straight up in even shield scenarios. So Aqua Tail ended up being a really good Community Day move, and I'm excited for the season to start in a couple days so I can play test it out. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. This was by far my longest video, so I really appreciate it if you're stuck here with me till the end. Thank you so much for watching and for taking an interest in my content. This is something that I never thought I'd be able to do, to be honest, and the fact that I'm able to do it and have some people watch it, it's so cool. It genuinely means the world. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you appreciated it. If you enjoyed the content, enjoyed what you saw here, I do try and make videos like this. If you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe. Of course, no obligation to do so, but if you enjoy it, stick around. We'd love to have you. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.